afternoon. So I thought I would go over something that I don't think I've ever addressed before, but it's completely necessary and a good reminder, especially if you're on dialysis. And that is tape. We use a lot. We use a lot of this tape. And this one's almost done, but I actually have like quite a bit in my cart because we have to attach our port tube to our bodies. Now, some programs offer you what's called island bandage. And so what it is it's literally gauze with an adhesive around it. And that's what it's called. That's why it's called an island bandage. And there are a lot that do not. And you can find them. So when you have a port, which means that you have a tube sticking out of your body, you have to protect that area like it is your life, because that's where infection can go, that's where injury can go, and that's where they can decide that they have to pull your port because you were foolish or something has happened. God forbid. I'm always really terrified about my port being yanked out of my body. I've heard that that can't happen, but I don't know how something hanging out of your body couldn't possibly be ripped out at some point in some type of traumatic situation. When you do get a port and you have started on dialysis and so forth, they usually talk to you about like not sleeping on your stomach, not laying on your stomach, because it can become uncomfortable. And I know that that is very true, because I tend to lay on my side for a little bit and then I'll roll over on this side. But when I do lay on that side, it does, or it can become aggravated. And so you just don't want to do that. Mostly because if your port becomes dislodged, or disrupted, or stressed, or ripped out of you, you're no longer on dialysis, for PD dialysis at least. So I'm thankful because DaVita actually gives me island dressing. But again, if I ever need to, I can go ahead and go to Amazon, and she's got everything. So, why not? But anyways, this is what it looks like. I think you can tell there. So see, there's a square, and then around it is completely an adhesive, sticky, like a bandage, right? Well, sometimes these can lift up, and so you need Mr. Tape to be on there so that you can go ahead and put it down even more safely. Like it's more secure if you put more tape on there. Usually you don't need that, but typically you do. And then when your tube is coming out of your body, there are certain places where you'll be trained to put the tape on, because your tube is kind of like a penis. It just kind of is there flipping about. And so you don't want that to happen either. Now, there are stories I've heard where, and I can understand why, your tape fails. And this is what I think happens. Your tape fails, and therefore your connector falls into the toilet. And that can be terrible, because that's basically cross-contamination. You've got to go and sterilize your little plastic connecting parts. Obviously, you have a cap on there. Obviously, it's probably just a moment. And you can kill it with your Alcavis, but it can happen that would fall. Or sometimes there's been a couple times when you've pulled your pants down to go potty and you rip the tape off, or the tape is just not sticky. And so that's the point. When I go for my morning walk with Smokey, I usually do my port clean, and that's when you take off the island dressing and you put a fresh one on. And every day you want to do this because you want to make sure that that place does not get infected. Well, I also like to secure my catheter end onto my body with the tape so that it's not falling out of my shorts. or whatever leggings I might be wearing, especially, you know, like let's say I'm gonna scoop and pick up his poop, or, you know, God, who knows what can happen, right? Dogs could get in a fight, whatever the case may be. A stranger might come up and surprise me. You know, you just don't know what could happen. And so I always fasten mine down whenever I go out. And I've learned now to do it actually when I go dancing as well, because sometimes guys will want to couple dance, which I don't like to do because I am a free spirit and I don't want to be locked into a dance like that. But I also don't want to get them tangled up in my cord or my tube and have injury happen. In most of my bags and in the car, I always have extra tape because there's times where the humidity is high enough that the tape becomes really unsticky, and so I need to reapply even more. I have had a bad batch where it was barely sticking and it had nothing to do with the weather and nothing to do with me. Sometimes putting on lotion, well, first of all, you want to avoid putting lotion on too close to your exit site. You don't want to put it under the island dressing at all. And the hardship is that we wear it every single day. And so your skin takes a bit of a beating. It's almost like it gets callous to it, but it can also kind of rip, and it could pull a little bit of skin. And I've noticed that that area is like on a stretch mark. If you've had children, you know what I'm talking about. That skin is just tender and thin. And so if you go to rip that tape off, it's really going to hurt. And you don't want to do that, mostly because, one, it's going to hurt, but two, because that can cause a scab, that can cause infection around the scab. That's a wound near your port. So you don't want to do that either. And I've been in a hurry before, like trying to jump into the shower. Speaking of that, what I find is that if you get in the shower and you have, I have a cord, I don't know where it is. I have a cord that has a little plastic end on it. And so I'm able to, it's actually kind of like this. So I'm able to put my connector in there and it stays, it clicks in, and I wear it around my neck, and then you can hold it there so that it's, again, not swinging in the breeze or dangling in a very very dangerous way. And you can find those on Amazon. So just look at that up. It's, I think it's called Dialysis Accessories is where I found it. And I don't want to say it's that, I think it's only like 20. I think it's only $20 for it. And it comes with 2 cords and one little connecty thing. But really, there's no reason for you to have to replace it. I've had mine for 2 years. So it's a really good investment, because I don't know what you would do. I don't know if you would try to hold that in your hand while you were bathing. This way you can be hands-free. And so what I found is that if I jump into the shower, all the tape is on there, and then the water itself will help loosen it up, and then I'm able to take it off, and that causes less strain on my skin. But again, if you have tape that is really bad, and sometimes that happens where it just doesn't stick, throw it away. Don't even try to salvage it. Don't try to keep it for wrapping Christmas presents or whatever. Don't even bother with it, because if it's not going to stick, then there's no point to it. And really, if it's not going to stick, it means it's going to catch other things onto it, you know, like fuzz, material, germs, you know, anything like that. You just want to toss it out, because it's not worth it, I promise you. I think it's a good idea too to have an extra box of island dressing. So I do have one extra box just in case. And again, you can get that on Amazon. Now, from what I understand, you can take square sterile gauzes and you place it on top, and then you use your tape to go around it in the square area. And I have done that before when I've ran out of island dressing, which was just like for one day or something, because I went that day and I asked Beth for more. But I don't like that. I think that's really sketchy, and I don't understand why our insurances don't cover that. And don't get me started on the insurance thing either. Oh my God, I can't even. Just how they're changing what they are providing for us is just insane, because they're not the ones sitting here in the chair. This is probably one of the only times you'll see me upset about dialysis in general, is that the people who decide this, I want to know how they get the information to decide what we need, because there is logic, there is training, there is education, and then all of that, but there's also real life doing. There's real life reality. There's real life person who is doing the dialysis, and they should be also considered. I'm raising my hand in case I volunteer for tribute, in case anybody's watching that has any type of control over this, to help decide what we get and what we don't get, because there's so many factors that you don't understand. And it's like when you can say 2 + 2 is 4, yeah, but what happens when something falls on the ground and you can't use it, or something comes up and you have to do it all over again, or whatever the case may be, because you yourself are not doing it? I don't think they should decide. They should have a panel of patients or people who have actively done things for a good time and for positive results, that know and understand what we go through. And so it's just frustrating to me how that happens. In the greatest land ever, how does our insurance happen this way? I don't know. And it's overwhelming, and it does bring me to tears, because I think about not just myself, because I can manage, but I think about people who are honestly scared when they get on dialysis, or the elderly who are trying to manage through all of this. From what I can see visually, I'm one of the youngest people doing PD dialysis, at least at my center. So my heart hurts for these people when things aren't easily distributed to them or accessible to them. Like, that needs to change. So why people are not given island dressing for their port site just automatically across the board, I don't freaking understand it. I don't know. I just don't get it. That's just asking for peritonitis to happen. And then they have to use shitty ass tape sometimes and gauze to keep it all safe. It's just ridiculous. I'm thankful that at least I can get my island dressing from Amazon, or at least from Beth. And again, because the tape is like our best friend, keep it everywhere. Keep ordering it. And again, if you get a crappy one, just throw it out. Don't even attempt to salvage. So that's my thing today, I guess, is like, when I came across some tape that was just really terrible, I'm like, I don't think I've ever talked about the tape situation. And then another side note is your skin does become irritated from the tape for a while. And so I know it was my habit to put it right where I was trained to put it, and that's still the good habit. But you can kind of shift it a little bit so that it's not exactly in the same spot every day, and it gives that little place a moment to breathe, like maybe every other day. Maybe have two different sets of places that you place the tape, so that it'll be able to breathe, and your skin will be able to breathe, and it won't become so irritated, because sometimes it becomes so itchy. It's like having a cast on and wanting to itch the skin underneath. So that's normal. Happens to everybody. Anyways, that's my word on tape. You guys have a good day. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.